Hello, my name's Rowan, and I'm doing the discipleship year here at Trinity, primarily working with the students. Today, in our Trinity Lent reflections, I'm focusing on chapter 24 of the Exodus story, and the verse that stood out for me is verse 11, from the NLT. And though these nobles of Israel gazed upon God, he did not destroy them. In fact, they ate a covenant meal, eating and drinking in his presence. The reason this verse stands out to me is what it reveals about the character of God. The elders and the people they represent, the tribes of Israel, had done nothing to earn God's approval. The blood of bulls cannot wash away sin. Yet when they arrive in God's presence, they don't die. They're not even overcome with the knowledge of their sinfulness as opposed to God's perfect holiness. Instead, they are welcomed with a meal that serves as a sign that they are in community with God, that they can trust him, that he is disposed to bless and to help them. Indeed, as well as the massive symbolic importance, it must be remembered that these men had just climbed a mountain out of the desert. So as well as confirming Israel's status as protected and dearly loved, God provides practically for them. This is a display of grace and mercy that would have been immediately obvious to the men, to the tribes, to the original readers of the passage. But it's all too easy for me to skip over today. And it makes me wonder how many acts of God, how many raindrops of grace I don't see because I'm not looking for them as I go about my day. Lord, this passage reminds us that your grace is far deeper than we can ever fully know. And yet that we are invited into a relationship where we get to know you deeply, even as we are deeply known. As we continue in this Lent season, please remind us of the place you have set for us with you, and draw us into an ever greater knowledge of how deeply we are loved, that we may in turn express that love to a world that's crying out for you. Amen. As we go into today, I'd like to encourage you to continue to pray, particularly about how we may demonstrate hospitality. We see that God welcomes us, and how we could, even in the midst of this pandemic, where there are all sorts of rules about how we can gather and who we can see, still demonstrate that radical hospitality to those around us, and in doing so, point them to Jesus.